guys, thanks for coming out. So, super short version of my story, so it kind of makes sense. Started off my early 20s, I got into real estate out of the physics degree for some reason. Did really well, early to mid 20s. Loved my life, had a house, had a car, had a girlfriend, everything was cool, but every night when I went to bed, put my head in the pillow and I thought about that time that I was on that little backpacking trip and I met all those people that had gone on the gap year and traveled around the world. So after many nights of that, one day I just went online and I bought a one-way ticket to Malaysia. Said goodbye to my girlfriend, that was hard. Said goodbye to my car, that was hard. Sorry, we're still friends. And packed everything up and off I went. And I didn't know how long it was going to be, but for the next year, 3 years, sorry, I bought only one-way tickets. Lived out of a backpack. It started off this big and by the end it became about that big. Lived in a camper van for a while, touring Europe, climbed mountains, cycled a lot of America. I did so many things, lived a life of adventure for years, and then finally I was cycling in Southern California, thought I was going to Mexico, and I was just like, well, why am I still traveling? Something was missing. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted to stop traveling, so I came to London because I love the city, I still do. That was 5 years ago. I've been here since. And since then, I figured out what I wanted to do was to give back and help people to do more of what they love. And I got into coaching. Professional life coaching, this kind of thing, and I thought it was going to be easy because I'd always been an entrepreneur. I struggled, I went broke, I went into debt. It didn't work. I was following all the advice of how to be an expert and tell people that you can help them with their life, and it just didn't feel real to me because it wasn't authentic, just making up this big story about who I was and what I could do. So I met a guy named Darren Eden and another coach that I hired named Rich Litvin, and both of these guys, I resonated with their kind of, their whole message is about truth and authenticity and just being unique and being who you are. And one of them said to me once, like, where did you most feel like yourself? And I said, well, I guess when it was driving my van when I was in Eastern Europe. And what if you just coached from that place, metaphorically? And I just started thinking, like, what if I just did what I used to do? What if I just did what I wanted to do now, but from that place and who I would most be, and what would that look like? Oh, so it wouldn't be me sitting in a hotel conference room doing a workshop, it would be me out somewhere in the world. I just started using my imagination. This is a key point, use your imagination. And I said, well, I love to travel, I love adventure, I love having powerful conversations that impact people's lives, I love magic and illusion. What if I just pull that stuff together? And I came up with this idea called Hero Journeys, which is based on a concept by a mythologist named Joseph Campbell, who passed away in the 80s. And the hero's journey, which is the popular culture name for the monomyth, Joseph Campbell's thing, is basically this idea that every story throughout time has the same plot line running through it in the background. And it's a story of a hero in an ordinary world that gets some call to adventure, something that they must go and do. They ignore it for a while, but finally they can't resist, and they go and follow it. They cross some threshold, facing their fears and their demons, and they go on this adventure, facing tests and trials and challenges, temptations, all sorts of things. And then they face this huge ordeal, they fight the dragon, whatever, overcome the biggest fear that they have in their life. And then once they do that, they get some deep insight of who they are and to what their potential is, because they've achieved this. And they go back to the world they came from in the beginning, the ordinary world, the beginning place, and they become the master of those two worlds. With that deep insight, they're more able to live in that world. And so I take this metaphor of the hero's journey into all of my coaching work. And so the coaching that I do now is I work with people one-on-one, and I help them figure out how their life is an adventure. And sometimes that means that you're looking at your entire life and what you're doing. Maybe you're leaving a job or a new thing. An adventure can be a metaphor. And sometimes it's just in a moment. Like I have a client that I'm working with that his thing is like he's got to raise all this money, billions of pounds, in order to put 7,500 jobs in the northern UK. But in order for him to do that, he's got to make some phone calls that are difficult. And so what if instead of that unknown thing that will happen on the other end of the phone, what if it was an adventure? Because in order for your life for your thing to be an adventure, you have to go from the known into the unknown. And this is one of the coolest things. Like the unknown scares us, right? It's like we don't want to do that. I don't want to quit my job and do this because I don't know what's going to happen. It's unknown, it's uncertain. But if you start looking at that as an adventure, then all of a sudden the unknown starts to become something attractive. You can go into that because that's where the cool stuff happens. That's where you get to have the experiences in life that you're not going to have living where you always live. And so I work with my clients for them to see their life as an adventure. And usually it's metaphorical, but often, sometimes, more and more now, I'm helping them to see it by actually taking them on adventures, hero journeys. Sometimes in a small group setting. I've done a dinner called Enter the Dark in London. Pitch black restaurant, Dans le Noir, and it's a French gourmet run by a blind waitstaff. We have a beautiful meal. You can't see a thing. You can't even see your fingers in front of your eyes. It's so dark. And then I do a talk about entering the dark and entering the unknown. And sometimes it's one-on-one where I'm crafting an adventure called Phone Box, where you show up with a phone box and at night in London and the phone rings and there's a voice on the other end of the phone. It's not me, it's somebody else. And they give you a riddle, presenting you with a challenge that engages you in the world in a way that's particularly outside your comfort zone. And you go from one phone box to the next over 2 hours. And then we have a deep, meaningful conversation about what that means for you in your life. And it's about bringing it to life, you know? I'm trying to take all the things that I love and that are important to me and mix them together. People so many times are caught between, do I want to do this thing or that thing? Well, I can't do both. Well, what if you could? What if you could? And another big thing I love to help people do is to help them see what it is they would really love to do. Okay? What would you most love? And so I have some time, I spend time with people and help them uncover their secret dreams, what they would most love. And what I love about these is when they figure out what that is and they get super excited, they also get super scared. Super, super scared. In some ways, actually, to figure out what it is you would most love is to ask yourself, what is it that I most fear? Because on the other side of everything we fear is the thing we'd most desire. I know this kind of sounds weird. I said that to somebody the other day and they said, so you're saying that I most love spiders? I was like, well, it doesn't actually work like that. It's more about, what's that thing you think about that you would love to do, but it makes you scared? Maybe you don't know what it is, but like, how many of you are petrified of robbing a bank? You think about that all the time, you feel that fear. No, none of you, right? Like, because you don't want to rob a bank, you're not thinking about it, right? So the thing that you feel that fear, if you always feel fear around public speaking, you're only feeling it because part of you is considering it. The thing that you fear the most often is the thing that you most love and the thing you most need to do. So the challenge that I face in my business is by helping so many people get connected to that thing they would most love, I also scare that crap out of them. And then it becomes more challenging for me to create them as a client, because by them working with me, it also means that they have to do the thing they're most scared of. So I kind of create my own paradox. But the ones that actually finally do come through and end up working with me are the ones that are most inspired, the most willing to go, and they know that the only way to have a life that's the exciting life that you most want is to move towards that fear. Start taking cold showers for every day for the next week. Experience what it's like to step into it, feel that, get used to moving towards the fear instead of away from it. And so my big dream is to work with more and more of these people, because as I do that, I find that the people that are willing to move towards their fear are the ones that have these big, beautiful missions. And I watched the movie X-Men the other day, and I kind of feel like a little bit like Professor X, if you've seen the movie. Like, I'm working with more and more people that are powerful and amazing and have these amazing missions, putting jobs in the UK, helping the elderly in Scandinavia, changing the face of health and safety in the United Kingdom. And if I can coach them to all have impact on the world, then I'm having impact on the world. And so what I'd love you guys to think about when you leave here today is, what if I lived my life as an adventure? What if you lived your life as an adventure? What will be the threshold that you have to cross? What's that fear? And what is it pointing to you towards that you most love, that you most need to do? Let fear be a signpost, not a stop sign. Thank you guys.
Thank you.